Alright, you guys, welcome back to a brand new episode here on
The ankle.
Hey Ember.
Hello, honey. Welcome to my shit show.
So, I hope everyone is having a great day. Thank you so much for tuning on in. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Like and subscribe, become a channel member. So, this is the very first video. I do apologize if it's probably going to be a little all over the place. This was also a very interesting movie to start this on. So for today, we're going to be looking at In a Violent Nature by Chris Nash. Now, he's also the director of the Leverage series and Archer, which didn't know that, but I found that to be very interesting. And I think there is an aspect of comedy in this. Just a bit. Just a little bit. Not like hit you over the head like even I would say Friday the 13th kind of could be. It's much more subtle, I would say. But is starring Rye Barrett, Andrea Pavlovic, and Cameron Love. I'm just going to say right off the bat, I enjoyed this movie for the experience it was. I don't think a lot of people are going to like it. And it really caught my eye because people were talking about it a lot, like maybe a month or so ago. And then it kind of got real quiet. And I saw the Amazon star reviews for it and whatnot, and it's not good. People are not rating this movie too favorably. But we will check out some of the reviews. But the basic synopsis for the movie is when a locket is removed from a collapsed fire tower in the woods that entombs the rotting corpse of Johnny, a vengeful spirit spurred on by a horrific 60-year-old crime. His body is resurrected and becomes hell-bent on retrieving it. Now, sounds like your basic run-of-the-mill slasher, very Friday the 13th and a little bit kind of like Halloween-y, I guess. It follows the major tropes that have already been established. But what makes this movie more interesting, in my opinion at least, is that it's all the same basic tropes, basic storyline, everything. We even have a final girl, but it's all through the killer's POV, except for the very end, which I also really enjoyed. But so just jumping right into the quick little review, I guess, that I have for this movie. It was exactly what I thought it would be. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think it was necessarily out of the box from what I was expecting. It gave me exactly what I was expecting and kind of answers the question, why aren't there any slasher movies from the killer's POV? It's boring. It is. There are many, many long single shot scenes where you're just listening to something in the background or you're just watching our killer Johnny trek through the woods for 10 minutes. It's more of an experience. I wouldn't say this is one of those sit-down movies that everyone is just going to love. It still has a very basic narrative structure and you're not left wondering really about anything. But starting right off, you notice, it has a really great sound design, I would say. And even just from the first, I wouldn't say 10 minutes because the scenes are long, the first 15 minutes or so, it's very much like a nature documentary, and that's pretty much what the entire, it's not until you start getting to the scenes, the kill scenes and whatnot, that things start to get a bit more cinematic, I would say. But they also do a very good job of hiding some of the violence or missing it, I would say, because some it's right there, all out in the open, and others it's we don't even see what happens. So I also think it builds up a good pacing for itself because it's not like each kill after the next is more dramatic. It's more like you get some excitement and then just a little tease, and then something exciting and then just a little tease, and then something major. And it just, the pacing of the movie, while yes, it is long, it's long, it feels like a very long movie, it works, if that makes sense. I feel like it's as unbiased of a view that we could get on the scenario. You know what I mean? Because if we focus too much on the victims, then you feel for them. You know, you don't want to see them get hurt or anything, and that's not like nature, you know? And they dive into that at the very end when the final girl has escaped and she's in a person's car. And I read online someone talking about how that scene reminds them so much of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I agree 1,000%, especially when she's getting her into the car the very first time. It reminded me so much. And I was just thinking, like, he's going to come up the back of the truck and, like, get this lady who's trying to help her, just like in Texas Chainsaw. But no, she gets in and they're talking about, like, nature, the nature of violent things, animals, more specifically. And it's so interesting. I think it's very interesting. It really does feel like a nature documentary, which some people might like that, some people might hate it. It's not like narrated by any means, but yeah. So, I mean, the whole movie character and premise of everything is obviously a direct call to Friday the 13th. This vengeful spirit of a child that comes back and kills those involved and then anyone that like disturbs them. You know, it's a trope. We see it time and time again. But it does feel newer. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hate like the mask that they chose. It's like, I don't know, an old firefighter's mask or something. I don't know, it makes him look like a bug. And they don't show the killer's face the entire movie except for one scene. And it makes me question because the whole movie they refer to him as an animal, that, you know, he has no other instinct than to just kill. But I don't think that's necessarily true. I'm going to be honest with you. I think violent in nature, yes. But when you're getting the POV from him, it doesn't seem calculated or guided. You know, his rampage, if you want to call it that. He's led to all of these different locations and to these different victims from different circumstances. It's not like, I mean, he has like the energy to find the locket, but he like doesn't know where the locket is. He's just following these clues and what he hears. So it makes you question, like, is he an animal, or does he have like the brain of the child that was killed? Because there's a scene where he finds the victim's car keys and he's so fascinated with it. And that's the only time that you see him without his mask. And we'll talk about that too. Because, spoiler, if you don't want to know what he looks like before watching it, you know, skip. But I'm only going to throw up the image here for a brief second. Doesn't it look CGI? Right? I mean, it is. It is. You can't deny that. So that confused me a bit. Like, why would you go the CGI route for the makeup when they did great practical effects? Okay, the yoga girl, when she gets we can talk about that. I do see where a lot of people could find this to be very boring. I did myself, you know, went check my phone a little bit here or there. Like, what can you do? What can you do? But I did enjoy it for the experience that, you know, it was. I don't know as though I would necessarily want to sit down and just like freely watch this again. Maybe. I don't know. But because it was a little bit corny, I'm not gonna lie. It was like every slasher movie to a T, you know? The stalking scenes of him like walking through the woods and standing outside of windows or just watching people from a distance, very unsettling. I don't like that in horror. I mean, I do like it. I physically don't like it. It scares me. That was done very, very well. Convincing, but also like, how do you not see him? And then at the very end, they do like very wide open shots very calm and peaceful, but you're still like on edge. Even though they show that he has retrieved the locket, so by all intents and purposes, he should be back to rest. But you're still just like on edge and like looking in the tree line and everything for him. So that aspect I enjoyed. Although I'm sure there are plenty of other references of movies that do this, but the most recent one I can think of is Halloween Ends, where they do the slow, quiet, still shots of Laurie's house. And you're still on edge. You're thinking something's going to happen, but no, it's just peaceful at last. That's very much what it kind of gives off. So I wrote down in my notebook that most of the violence had been off screen for a majority of the film. There was one where it was like pretty graphic, but it was also dark. So you knew what was happening, and it was definitely like, ooh. Especially when he takes a blade and like gets a guy in the mouth and slices his head in half, and he drags the body and carries the head to this fire ranger station, throws the head through the window. It was a gross scene, it really was. But that wasn't the most violent one. Then there's like another off-screen one, I believe. Or the girls at the lake, that one was pretty, uneventful. She just goes down in the water and then never comes back up. Him slowly walking into the water, though, from across the lake and then finally ending up over there, though, that's creepy. That's freaking creepy. The yoga girl. Definitely the best kill in the entire movie. Most memorable. I'm just going to tell you what happens. She's standing by a cliff, and he comes up, and she just kind of stands there and takes it. I'm not going to lie. She doesn't bother to run. It's a cliff, but it's not. It's like a 15-foot drop and then a bunch of sand. So she could have survived easily. She just didn't run. And he has these hooks, like giant hooks. Punches it through her like stomach area. So, and pushes through. And then it's so gross, you guys. It's so gross. I was like, oh my God. He hooks her in the head and then bends her in half and like knots her, like pulling her head through her body. Oh my freaking God. It was so gory, and you could tell they did practical effects with it, which, you know what, if I had to give up getting a good practical effects makeup for the monster, I'm glad it went to that, because that was good. That was good. And then there's another one towards the end where one of the original people that killed the kid Johnny, he gets like his neck broken, something. He's paralyzed, so he's just laying there. Then he gets dragged into like a wood splitting area, I don't know, machine. Johnny is slowly, this is probably a 10-minute shot or so of him just like moving him in a little bit more, and the thing very slowly coming and separating his body, Very bloody, very gross. Also, like, the very last kill is very, very violent as well. He just keeps hitting this guy in the head with an axe, like, over and over and over again. And the final girl, she sees this and she's just standing there, like frozen in shock. He notices, she keeps watching, he keeps doing it, and she eventually runs off, and she's running forever and ever and ever, thinking that she's being chased. I don't think she was. I don't think he had any interest, because she left the locket behind as well. It gives an interesting look into the psychology of it all. If you were to think of Friday the 13th as this movie's alternate version, so we're seeing it from the camp counselors. We understand why they're scared. They feel like this thing is purposefully coming after them. But in this movie, that doesn't seem to be the case. He's after them, but with a motive. And It's just because they don't know what that motive is, they're afraid. They think he's deliberately like going for them. When also like it was all entirely coincidental, you know? Like if they had just ran off, left town, or left after the first weird thing happened with the locket, I don't think he would have like followed. He probably would have kept searching the area there. There's a supernatural essence to it, obviously, but then again, like there's not. At the end of the day, all he is like a really hard to kill zombie, I guess. I don't know if that makes much sense. I highly recommend the movie, I really do, and I believe it's available to watch on Shudder. I paid to rent it before I realized that, so dumb me. And then the ending with the final girl and the lady in the car, who's actually from Friday the 13th, part 2, I believe. They're talking about the nature of violence and how animals being violent, it's not like it's an objective thing to them, you know? And she talks about how her brother was attacked by a bear and how that bear didn't want like anything to do with eating or having like a purpose for killing. It just wanted to kill. And that's how nature is, it's relentless and horrific, but in the end all is peaceful, all is calm, yada yada yada. It was a good movie. I do enjoy it. I think it would be probably more fun to watch like with people. Some horror movies it's just best with a group, because this one it's definitely like it's a lot. It's a lot. Or maybe it's best to watch it by yourself so that you can just sit there in the silence of it all. But I would recommend it, especially if you like slasher movies or slasher movies that are like kind of different. But yeah, I have my laptop right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to read the top positive review and the top critical review. Okay? So it'll give us a good mix. Plus, these guys rant. Great deconstruction of the slasher flick. Excellent movie, but I also understand why people don't like it. Very that. It's filmed pretty brilliantly. The entire movie is shown from the killer's POV, but as a result of it, it's slow-paced, which is most people's complaints. I don't mind a slow-paced movie. I love a slow burn. Not gonna lie. It does an excellent job of reversing expectations and showing the slasher from the opposite side of countless other movies since the 80s. That said, this movie has some extreme violence that's hard to stomach at points. If you're willing to go in and accept it's a bit slow-paced and some rather horrifying kills, you're going to be rewarded with a great experience. If you're going in expecting a normal teen slasher and a short attention span, you're not going to enjoy it much. Very that. It plays into the classical slasher and gives it a great twist, but you need to have patience for it. But I love slow burn movies, I mean, 31% of people that rated this gave it 5 stars, 30% gave it 1 star. So it's a very divisive movie, and I feel like if you guys watch it, you'll also be divided with it as well. So let's read the most critical one. This one's long. The real rating is 0 stars, but I can't select 0. So, call me crazy, but I am someone who likes to have fun at the movies. Understandable. I am a horror buff and I have seen all sorts of horror films. I think part of the fun of a good scary movie is watching it with other people and being scared together. That being said, if someone ever told me they recommend In a Violent Nature, I would immediately think 2 things of them. They have horrible taste in movies, and they are sadistic / unhinged, and also possibly a serial killer, because that is the only type of person who could enjoy this film. People who like horrible movies are just people who like seeing other humans torn apart. Well, that doesn't seem like a valid criticism. If you know it's a slasher movie, why not hold it to the same standard as other slashers? So I have a slight problem with that. When the film begins and lingers on a blade of grass for like 6.5 minutes, great sound design in those 6.5 minutes, though. You know exactly the type of experience you have accidentally put yourself in. So this seems like someone that didn't do their research. All I'm gonna say, seems like someone that did not do their research on what the premise of this film was supposed to be. What follows is a film so low budget and laughable it looks like some film student's senior project. If you would like to waste your evening watching 95 minutes of someone walking slowly through the woods, followed by random bursts of horrific violence, then knock yourself out. That sounds like a great time to me. Here are some minor spoilers to help you out, though. The film ends when the girl who reaches the street is picked up by the woman in the car. Do not watch the following 20 minutes where the woman driving rambles on and on about an unrelated bear attack, which driving against a stock forest green screen for what seems like a road that stretches for over 500 miles. I'm not exaggerating because literally nothing happens beyond this point. This seems like a very ignorant comment in my opinion because that drive wrapped up the entire thing and we're torn between this like mixture of we have seen from his POV what his intentions were and then here are these other people trying to make sense of senseless violence. That's interesting. Sorry about it. If you have seen Friday the 13th, any of them, then you have already seen this film. That's the point. The killer is literally dollar store Jason Voorhees. That's the point. It is so beyond derivative, I don't know how a lawsuit hasn't been filed. Girl. Girl. If a lawsuit wasn't filed after, Halloween and all that, then shut up. This person seems a little whiny, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't read this before. I didn't read this before. I'm not just arguing because I like the movie. I just don't think many of these are valid arguments. But we gotta remember, this is probably like a Marvel fan. Sorry about it. The killer's mask is incredibly stupid. I will agree on that. I did not like the mask. And he is not intimidating at all. Looks like someone's uncle with a beer belly who put on a funny hat. I mean, yeah. Acting is atrocious. Well, so is the acting in Friday the 13th. Sorry. Except for Mrs. Voorhees, the trash acting is why you watched it. Upon getting away from the killer in a vehicle multiple times, the remaining two people run back into the woods and instead of just getting away, decide to go back into the woods to fight someone they just saw tank a shotgun blast with a bear trap, and then one of them gets his face axed. Let that sink in. I mean, okay. I'm not saying that the people, the victims in it, didn't make stupid choices. They very much did. They made very dumb choices. You're supposed to be frustrated with that. I don't know. That's just... maybe this is me being a little devil's advocate, but I don't know. That seems like BS. Anyways, y'all. I do hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts. I definitely I don't know if I want to go through scene for scene, what happens and all this and that, cause plus I don't think that adds to the overall conversation. But yeah, if you haven't seen the movie and you're wondering if I think you should go watch it, yes, but like I said, go in with the understanding that this movie is not your typical slasher. And it's not your typical kind of just enjoyable content. If that makes sense, I enjoy it. I think it is enjoyable if you go in with the expectations of this is probably going to be a little boring, But if you think of it as the boring is there for a reason, it makes it a little bit better. But yeah, anyways, guys, so let me know what you think. And if you have seen it, let me know your thoughts. I have a feeling it's going to be very divisive and whatnot. Like I said, I think it's available on Shudder. So let me know, though. Thank you so much for tuning on in, you guys. I truly do appreciate ya. We're still figuring things out here, but as we do, we'll be able to do more, I guess. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe the next movie could be one that I haven't seen yet, but I've kind of been wanting to watch. I just haven't been in the mindset to do it. Skinamarink. It's another one of those movies that's very much an experiment, an experience. So maybe, but that one, oof, I'm not gonna lie, guys, that one really scares me. I've been really scared to watch that one, so that's why I haven't. We'll see. Let me know. Skinamarink, or I know some of you guys have recommended some movies. Not many of them ring a bell, so I mean, maybe I'll have to. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Yeah, we'll keep this going. I don't know how often it will be. Maybe just like kind of as often as I sit down and watch a new movie. But I mean, Christ, I could do that nightly if I really wanted to. But oh God, no. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Like and subscribe. Become a channel member. Thank you so much for tuning on in. I truly do appreciate ya. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care.